Seth Painter here with the Panagora Pharma Customer Experience Chatcast. Panagora, known primarily for its live events, chatting with all of your favorite pharma folks about all things CX. Joining us now is Emily Stuis from Pfizer. Say hi, Emily.
Hi, everybody. As Seth said, Emily Stuis from Pfizer.
And Emily, do you have a disclaimer for us?
Yes, I do actually. Any answers that I provide are my opinions and based on my experience alone and have nothing to do with Pfizer as a corporation or entity or are in any way their opinions or advice.
So before we kick it off, you work in a very sort of a unique role at Pfizer. Could you just describe what that role is? Because I'm sure that a lot of folks out there aren't familiar with the type of work that you do.
Sure. Yeah, so I work in an innovation accelerator. And what we do basically as a small team is help to accelerate business impact by using these innovation and acceleration methodologies, some of which you may have heard, like design thinking and Google Sprint method.
So, okay, let's get right into it. In a broad sense, Emily, what does customer experience mean to you?
Customer experience in a broad sense means ensuring that you're putting your customers' needs first, whatever that may be. When I think about it from a personal standpoint, it's, how do I feel when I engage with a company or a brand or a specific product? What does that experience look like for me? And hopefully it's a good one. But that's really what I think about.
And in your role, um, who are your customers? Because I think in the type of work you do, it might be a little bit different than a marketer who is working on an HCP focused or focused on a patient experience. Who are your customers?
Yeah, so it's funny because when I think about customers from my perspective, it is my colleagues, really. The people who are coming to me and saying, "Hey, can you help me figure this challenge out?" So I consider my colleagues my customers.
And then how does that layer on to CX as you think about it? Because again, we're used to talking about patient experience and maybe HCP experience. It's a little bit different. So how does that impact your colleagues? And someone might argue if you can't get the patient experience right, why should the colleague experience be of any significance?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing, an interesting point. Really, when I think about the layer, I first think about how do I help my colleagues work in a way that's a little bit different than they might be working. So how do I get them to use design thinking principles in their everyday work? And when I think about their customers specifically, whether it's all of us have the customer of the patient, and some more specifically, maybe the HCP, the provider. So when I think about those layers, I think if I make their experience really great and teach them how to use this design thinking method, and that helps them solve this issue for their customers, then the impact is like a ripple effect. And hopefully, by me providing them with a good experience, I'm helping them provide their customer with a good experience.
So it's a trickle down effect from a happy colleague ends up being a happy patient, let's say, in that particular case. You've been using the term design thinking quite a bit. Can you explain to us what design thinking is?
Sure. So design thinking is a methodology, and I don't know all of the ins and outs of it, but from my perspective, it really is putting your customer first, putting your human needs first. And so when we think about designing a solution, we first think about our customer's perspective, and that's where the design thinking method comes into play.
And this is an overarching philosophy. This isn't something that's particularly proprietary to your organization.
No, no, design thinking has been around for 50 or so years, I believe, and is used in all different industries and companies from what I can hear. Yeah.
In addition to design thinking, what are some of the other philosophies or strategies or toolkits that you come into contact with?
I've used complex or creative problem solving. That's a favorite one of mine. If you think about the 5 why analysis, I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's basically getting to your goals by asking the simple question, why do you want to achieve that, why do you want to achieve that? And that comes from creative problem solving, and that's one of my favorite tools to help people hone in on what it is they're actually solving for.
And is that something where you actually need a technique or framework? Because I'm sitting here saying, well, that's common sense, right? I'm going to think about the why. But
Right.
do most people stop at the first or second why and they don't go all the way down? They don't drill down enough to really get to the crux of the issue, or is it is it something that anybody should be doing? I mean, it seems like common sense.
It's funny that you say that because I was just thinking about this morning. It does seem like common sense. And I think at some point, everyone will get there, but the tools really help you focus in on it first. So you're like, well, it's common sense. Why would we want to do this? But putting it in a structured way helps people really visualize and align as a team. And I've been finding that just in everyday work, when I tell people about what I do, even my family members, they're like, well, why basically are you necessary? Isn't it common sense? And I said, well, let's take a problem that you have, like, how might I get to the grocery store? Well, why do you want to go there? Why do you want to, and that's such a simple example. But when I take my family members through that process, they start to have a little more clarity. Like, I really never thought about this as a full reason why I would want to go to the grocery store right now, or what's blocking you. My dad might say, well, the pandemic's blocking me. I'm like, well, what else is blocking you from doing that? He's like, I'm afraid. Okay, well, how do we overcome that fear, right? Okay, wear a mask, bring hand sanitizer, only go at a certain time. So people don't really think about it unless you give them that structure.
And I'm sure everyone looks forward to hanging out with you at holidays and family reunions. But
Let's dig into that problem a little bit more.
I think you bring up a good point, and a lot of folks would say, I can imagine being in a corporate environment. There's probably more than a little bit of pushback on that, saying like, why are we doing this? This is dumb. This is a waste of time. I already know what I want to do.
Right.
But you have seen that manifest itself in saying like, wow, a lot better solutions come out of this when we actually go through the steps and move forward with that. That's fantastic, and I think that's something that a lot of organizations overlook, whether they're trying to do something in the innovation front or merely just trying to get a project from point A to point B. When you think about customer experience and where we are at today, it's been a buzzword for the last 5 years. So has digital. Everybody's digital this, digital that, and there's very different places on the digital transformation and maturation map for various companies. And so my question is digital customer experience? Is customer experience digital? Can the two be separated, or should they even be separated in the year 2020 and moving forward?
No, it's really funny when I think about digital from my perspective. I think about it as it's a mechanism to achieve something, right? It's a way for us to reach our customers, and everyone's really focused on that. Like you said, just with the pandemic, everything has turned virtual, right? If you think about even the normal things that you've been able to go to the store, suddenly they have a website or an app to reach people.
But why
And I
do I
think
want to
it's
go to the store? Why? What?
you're catching on. It's great. But when I think about customer experience and digital, to me, they don't necessarily go hand in hand. When I think about customer experience, I think, what is it that the customer needs? They may not need an app or a website or a digital solution. And the way that the world is going, obviously, the digital component is going to be more and more prevalent, right? It's in our face. It just is becoming a natural thing. But I think sometimes we focus so much on a digital solution, we forget some of the basic human needs and perspectives. And we forget some of our user groups, right? So, you know, digital isn't always fit for the older crowd. And
Hmm.
so, how do we meet them? But maybe the digital component is how do we help the people who are going to help meet their needs, right? So, that's kind of how digital comes into play. So, I think as we get more progressive with technology, it obviously is just becoming a no-brainer, but we can't forget that our customer experience doesn't mean it's digital. It means we want to make things easier and more pleasant for people and help people have better lives. And I know that's really blue sky, but I think about my grandmother all the time, right? She is not going to buy into a digital solution that she doesn't understand. So how do we meet her there?
Right, and somebody that might help her get to a place of CX would be helped by a digital tool.
Right, right. So like we have to think about our customer experience in layers. It's almost become a little more complex than I think it used to be, or maybe it always has been. I just have never thought about it in these layers before.
It used to be that if you called them and they picked up, that was a good experience, and if you got something free, then the CX was incredible.
Mm.
But we're seeing that it is a lot more complex than it was in the past. So last question, and I know that you'll be able to answer this. Who's going to win the World Series?
Oh gosh. You know what? Here's my hope. Go Mets.
We shall see what happens in terms of that, even if we're going to have a baseball season. But it's been much on my mind lately, so I am asking a lot of our guests about it, and we shall see what happens. Emily, thank you for joining us. Will we see you at the September Customer Experience Summit
I
that
really
Panagora is now moving to a virtual platform? Will we be talking to you then?
I hope so.
Okay, we'll make it happen. Thank you very much, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.